Okay, we're getting going on another project here. This is a 4-speed tranny out of something. Yeah. It's a electric start, 70 later. Looks like here. So, I don't know. Doesn't matter. We're going to rebuild it. So we got some new parts here for it. So there's some, looks like some gears and other crap. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing apart, check it out, see what it needs. Make the parts I got here work and give it back to them. So this is how we get the stuff. Comes in a big pile of crap. Figure it out. Here's a part of the floor. Some kind of a mid-control thing it looks like. Jockey lever. I don't know why we got a spark plug in here. Extra parts. You have to give me a rag, I like that. Sandpaper, boy. And the clutch plate. Alright. So the reason you have a nice soft floor like this, when you drop stuff it don't damage it. Heavy spot goes down first. See how that works? Alright. So you can be a dumbass and not do that, damage anything. We do all kinds of crap like that right here. Okay, so appears to be the clutch arm we're going to use. Sandpaper, I don't know what we need that for. First thing you do is pull this tray. And something to put the hardware into. So you can go clean everything. Every once in a while I clean stuff. Carefully. Use whatever you got. Soap and water. Don't recommend gasoline or diesel. Solvents. Whatever. They get all kinds of fancy cleaners these days. Doesn't matter what it is. Get out there and clean. That doesn't have to be clean, it is clean. That's new, I'm thinking about that. This has already got dirt on my table. Yeah. We'll put that right there because we're probably going to need it again. Alright, so start with easy stuff first. Whatever's in your way, get rid of it. That thing's tight. There we go. You take the parts off, you look at them, inspect them, make sure they look decent. Looks good. Use it. See if the throw-out bearing mechanism works. Turn the lever over here. It works. Appears to be working freely. It's a good sign. That's a plus. I like to scrape the gaskets off as I hit them. That way I don't have to do it later. Never put your body in front of the scraper. These will cut the piss out of you. Don't use those fucking floppy wheel pieces of shit. All they do is destroy stuff. Get a real scraper. A lot of burrs on this case. Every time you catch a burr, it doesn't want to move because it's aluminum. See that? Hard stop. Big aluminum burr right there. Another one. Nothing but burrs on everything. So the gasket works better when you don't have burrs. It actually comes off. Another burr. It's a lot easier to do this right now if you got stuff to hold on to. It takes a lot of pressure to scrape stuff off. So. Alright. A lot of burrs everywhere. They are gone. Shifter appears to be moving side to side without binding, so we know the shaft's not bent. It's a good sign. Take your shift rollers off. Alright. Let's get this thing here off. Looks like it's just laying there. Supposed to be a bearing in here. There's no bearing. Doesn't do anything without the bearing. This transmission leaked like a sieve. So, number one 4-speed tranny leak. It's not that seal. It's not that seal back there. It's called loose sprocket. See how the sprocket's loose? Nuts loose. Lock is on it. Sprocket's loose. The way this works, it all has to be pinched together to not leak. It's not pinched together if the sprocket's loose. So this transmission was gushing oil out of it like crazy, even though all the seals are probably halfway working. We won't say they're working 100%, but they're probably halfway working. So first thing I always do is tighten your nuts down. Always put a sock on it, turn it, make sure it's tight. So that transmission was leaking. Guaranteed 100% leaking like I said. Said. If you just put the trannies together correctly, they don't leak. When they get loose, they leak. Okay, you need a chisel to get that off. I'm going to need a long punch to get the shifter out. Get some tools. Long punch, chisel. Socket, homemade. Take a big socket, weld a small socket to it, cut it, lengthen it, weld it back together. You now have a tool. You have to have a long socket to go over the shaft, like this. If you put the two gears together, it doesn't rotate, see? So it won't turn because the lock's on it. That's what the chisel's for. Should be all of them. That still won't go off by hand, see? Come off with this. left-handed thread. That means you tighten it to loosen it. So even though nut won't fall off, it was loose. Lock is bad. Sprocket's worn out. When the teeth are starting to go backwards like that, it's bad. Piece dropped down there. That'd be a little seal piece. So that's how that works there. So that's bad. There's a little seal piece lock. That engages the sleeve into the seal. We don't use those. This tab goes right in here, like that. So that engages the seal spacer. So when you rotate this, the inner sleeve spacer will rotate, which means the seal will work. The problem is when you put a nut on the outside to seal everything all up, put one of those nuts on the outside that has a big seal in it, it'll leak right past here because guess what? There's a groove right there. If you have a groove, it leaks. Yeah. Dealing with that. Gotta get it to fall out again. There it goes. So, we're not going to reuse that port. I changed the seal spacer out and put the later one in there. Eliminate that. You have to machine things a little bit to make it work, but it works. That way when you put another seal on the outside here, it won't leak past that. It's no use trying to seal something up and you got a groove, a bypass groove built in. More leaks. Okay, this gear set here initially doesn't look super bad. The teeth aren't all pitted. They all seem to be there. The dogs aren't too rounded off. So this overall gear set here doesn't look too awful bad. You can see how that tooth there is starting to pit away a little bit. See, it's a big gouge in there. It's starting to pit away. That's low gear. We don't care about low gear. Third gear, fourth gear, second gear a little bit matters more. Low gear, how long are you in low gear? You can sacrifice it a little bit, it won't matter. So you gotta look at your application. Now if you're drag racing, low gear matters, but street bike, not much. Okay, I'm going to pull this kicker cover off. This is not a good kicker cover bolt. Excuse me. This is a clutch adjustment screw. See how it's got the screw thing on the end of it? That's a clutch adjustment screw. It is not a kicker bolt. Guess they had an extra one. Or they had a missing one. Okay, arm comes off. We're good. Okay. You can unload the tension on the spring, do it. So you just rotate the spring backwards like that, unwinds it, kick it over, and then unwind it. Spring. This is loose, which means it's either stripped or just loose. You're not supposed to wobble like this. So my guess is it just loosened up. The threads are a little bit screwed up because it's being loose, but there's still threads in there. So you put in there with some Loctite on there and hopefully it'll stay put. It's over there. Just an OEM kicker cover here. This is before 65. This is aftermarket. So this is basically an early 60s kicker cover. Maybe late 50s also. appears the threads are non-existent in there. So this drain plug is barely catching any threads. You got a couple threads on the outside, no threads, and way on the inside. So this is long enough to catch it way on the inside, as long as you don't put a big O-ring or something on there. So this cover here is got some issues with it. So we'll let them decide if they want to replace it or not. It will work for now as long as you don't put no stupid O-ring on there. Where's my stuff? Right here. Socket. Wrench. This one here, the socket won't clear the finger, so I'll use a wrench. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing or not. Probably not, too far away. So you're going to hit the tower here when you put a socket on, so you got to use a wrench. He's got locking nuts on here and lock washers, it looks like. Yeah, it came off, barely. Okay, the rest of these I can use a zip gun on. Take them off with a zip gun. Ooh, wrong direction. Appears to be dry in there. You got one bolt instead of a stud. You got long studs on here for the accessory controls and starter stuff that might not be used on this train, I don't know. There's a little bit of oil coming out and water mix, it looks like. Got the early throwout bearing, which are the good ones. So you can see how this is all chewed up down in here. It's not good. That hits up on top of this. That wear is not caused from this bearing. That wear is what they get from those earlier bearings. I mean the late bearings, I think. Got some wear on that. Looks like it's rubbing over here also, the big bearing. So that is kind of chewed up. I want to make sure this gear is tight. Appears to be tight, but I always like tightening the nuts to make sure. You can see how the gear over here is eating on this a little bit. This is engaged, disengaged, ramping. See how it starts chewing on these things. Eventually the kicker quits working. So this one's worn a little bit, but not too awful bad. So most of this could be reused if you want to. It's not the best in condition, but it will work. This way you keep a dirty rag in the trash. Wipe up your trash. Old nasty oil. Should have a little bit of water mix in it. Yuck. New filthy rag off the dirty pile. There we go. your bush in your main shaft. Nice and loose like they usually are. This is the wrong push rod. This is the late push rod that ate up the damn finger. And then they put the yearly bearing on it, which takes a taper in there. It goes in there. So this doesn't center up very well. It will push on it, but it's not the best. So you can see how this gets worn to a taper like it should have been made. But this is a late push rod, not the correct one. So you got the wrong part. It kind of works, but you know, it's not right. Typical. I'm not sure how good the seal is down inside of this. Doesn't appear to have much drag on it, so it means the seal is probably not working very good. See how it turns pretty freely? So that means it'll probably leak out through here. And you see a lot of residue here also, which probably tells you it's leaking. So you have to take this apart to change that seal out. So that's a different nut. Should be this one. Yep. Lock tab is in the way. There's one. Two. Socket almost fits now. It's actually halfway tight. Take the socket and beat on it and moves the lock out of the way. Now the nut's got something to turn against. Fine. Probably won't have to use a new lock tab. That seal wasn't doing much. Seal rubs right through here. Shaft is very rusty right there. See, the seal wears right here. You can see all the rust on it. See all the rusting right where the seal goes? Seals don't work good on rusted areas. So that's not very good for your seal. So this is going to leak like crazy no matter what you do. You can see the seal up inside of there. It's an O-ring type seal. See the clearance on it. Might be a little used. Just a little bit. Typical. So this needs new bushings in it. So the cover needs some work. You can either, if you want to keep the original cover, you spend money fixing this stuff. If you don't, you just put an aftermarket chroming on it. Depends on what they want to do. All of this stuff is used. I'm not sure what this washer is supposed to be, but it's not original. It's supposed to be a different type of washer on there. Alright. This nut is not supposed to be loose. So the nut's loose. That's not good. It holds things together a little bit. Yeah, that one's tight. That one holds the counter shaft in. There's also a big nut here that holds the main shaft in behind that gear. Hopefully it's tight. If you don't tighten these nuts down, they loosen up. That's why I don't use factory torque specs. I tighten the piss out of stuff so it stays tight. Parts that loosen up do not help you any. lock tab came off. Doesn't want to separate from the nut though. Yeah, did that time. That's how you separate them. Should move easily. Yeah. Won't fall off. We'll just beat the shaft out in a few minutes. Gotta get the shit works out of the way first. Okay, we get the kicker gear off. Oop, that ain't the right one. Memory failure. 15/16, not 1 inch. Ooh, 2 keys on that one. That's good. These early parts. Only original parts have 2 keys in them. That part's already replaced. So this is an old original gear. See, it's got 2 keyways in it. That's the original stuff. See how it's getting worn a little bit, but the teeth are still sharp on this side, so they're still good. Doesn't matter if it looks like crap on the back side. That doesn't matter. This is a ratchet gear. This is your kicker, how it engages it. So it digs in like this. See, when it goes backwards, it chews it up. Forward, it grabs. So this gear looks pretty new. So this gear is an old original one. The other 2 gears are new. Relatively new. So I'm going to see how worn out this bushing is on the shaft over here. Oh, that's nice. Nice and loose. So, that's a little loose. So when they're loose like that, they tend to drag on your other gear over here, cause problems. So either this bushing's the wrong size, or this shaft's way undersized. If you feel the shaft and it feels relatively round, you come out and you don't feel no lip, it's not the shaft, it's the bushing. So this bushing here is cut way too big, or it's worn way too big, but either way, the bushing's no good. Even though it's relatively new gear, that bushing's junk.